Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nature Source Care. My name is Dr. Funda Goldman. I'm a naturopathic physician. And in today's talk, I was going to discuss the medicinal benefits of parsley. The Latin name of parsley is Petroselinum crispum. And this talk is part of a kitchen pharmacy series where I go through and talk about the medicinal benefits of different kitchen, common kitchen spices and herbs and foods, that sort of thing. So let's take a look. Just a few notes beforehand. The information presented here is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. For any symptoms that persist or worsen, please consult with a qualified medical professional. It is always best to determine the root cause of any disease and to develop a comprehensive treatment plan. And while botanical medicine, nutritional remedies can be very effective, they may not be appropriate for everyone or as a single therapy. And also keep in mind the two most common side effects of any plant-based medicine are digestive upset and skin itching. So keep in your thoughts. Okay, so if you're interested in this kind of content, you can find this type of information in my different playlists. So botanical medicine, nutrition, and kitchen pharmacy playlists, so that they're easy to find. The information presented in this talk is based on my book, Drink to Your Health, Medicinal Teas, Juices, and Milks from Around the World. If you ever want to pick up a copy, it's available on Amazon. You can just, type in my name into Amazon, and then you'll find my books. The reason why I wrote this book actually was because I found it really difficult to find a book on integrated nutrition. And specifically in this book, I integrate 3 different paradigms of medicine. So Ayurveda, which is traditional Indian medicine, naturopathic medicine, which is traditional natural medicine, and then the Western or modern paradigm. Okay. And then, besides this kitchen pharmacy series, basically each of my playlist is a different course, So I have like Ayurveda, traditional Indian medicine playlist, Marma therapy, which is Ayurvedic acupressure, where I've taught all 107 points. So you can learn them all if you want. A yoga meditation playlist, homeopathy, and then separately, but under the umbrella of homeopathy and Bach flower remedies, I have almost all of those done. I think only like 5 or 6 left to do. A nutrition playlist, botanical medicine playlist, hydrotherapy or therapeutic use of water, body clear, and then cleansing. Cleansing playlist includes not just physical cleansing, but mental, emotional, and spiritual cleansing. Okay, so all that's out there for you. So hopefully you find a lot of it useful. Okay, so let's talk about parsley. So the part that you want to use is either the leaf or the stem because it's very soft. You generally don't want to use the roots if there are any roots. And you want to use a pretty light method of cooking herbs, so an infusion method. So there are different methods of cooking herbs depending mostly on the hardness of the part of the plant that you're using. Soft, leaves and flowers usually infusion because you don't have to actively boil the herb. You only have to do it for a short amount of time. If you want to learn about different methods for making medicinal teas, I have a video on that topic, so you can check that out. From an Ayurvedic perspective or traditional Indian medicine perspective, parsley decreases vata, it increases pitta, and it decreases kapha. So you might not be familiar with these terms if you're not into Ayurveda, but loosely translated, vata correlates to, or it's loosely translated as wind. So it's a cold, dry energy like the wind. Okay? And pitta is a fire energy, so it's heating in nature. And then kapha is earth. You can loosely translate as earth, so it's cold and wet. Okay, so we have cold and dry, hot, and then cold and wet. Okay, essentially. And in Ayurveda, these 3, what they call doshas or imbalances, vata, pitta, kapha, or wind, fire, earth, basically any person, patient, symptom can be categorized into essentially these 3 elements here, or doshas, imbalances. So which sounds very simple, but actually it's very profound. So then if you want to get into the details of the kind of energetics, because Ayurveda, traditional Indian medicine, is a primarily energetic paradigm of medicine, is that the initial taste is pungent, bittersweet. So those are the tastes you'll feel on your tongue, which correspond with different outcomes physically and mentally. And then it's heating in nature, just slightly. I mean, not super hot, not like ginger or cayenne, but it's a slightly heating, effect for the herb. And then it's pungent as its after effect. Okay. It also happens to be a sattvic herb. So sattvic, I have another video on sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic food, if you want to check that out. But sattvic essentially corresponds to having more of like a spiritual type of energy to it, as opposed to rajasic, which is very kind of mundane, goal oriented, or tamasic, which is kind of more like of an inertia type energy. Okay. So I had the different systems here that parsley can affect in a positive way. So the nervous system, it can be pain. I mean, not really heavy pain, but some kinds of pain, especially if it's a vata type of pain or kapha type of pain. And I actually have a whole video on different types of pain related to their interpretation by Ayurveda. Okay. So vata type of pain is going to be a pain that kind of comes and goes. That's worse with movement. It's kind of like comes from debility or instability or deficiency, where things are kind of too light and maybe deficient in nature. Okay. Then there's other kinds of pain, like pitta type of pain tends to be like a fiery, inflammatory type of pain. Like literally, you might see the skin, if it's on the surface, close to the surface, like red or that sort of thing. And then there's a kapha type of pain. Kapha type of pain may not be red and fiery and sort of angry looking, but there tends to be swelling involved. Okay. So especially for vata type of pain and kapha type of pain, this is a pretty good herb. Okay. Because it reduces swelling and it also, like, again, gently warms up tissues. Okay. So, again, you have to figure out what kind of pain we're talking about here, but some kinds of pain. And then also eye disease and inflammation. Okay. That might be because parsley is very high in vitamin A and vitamin C, which are both, important for tissues and, eye health. Okay. In the cardiovascular system, parsley is actually pretty good with hypertension, because it's a diuretic. So it helps to, get rid of excess water on the body. The nice thing about it, though, is it's not going to go really overboard. Like I've had some with the getting rid of water things, effect. I remember one patient I had, she was quite a bit older, and she came in a wheelchair complaining of gout. And the reason why she got gout was because she was on these diuretic medications for her heart. And it dried her up so much that actually the uric acid crystals, which form the gout tophi, are kind of crystals and mounds on people's, usually fingers and toes, sometimes ears. Um, the conventional diuretics just dried her out so much that it not that it increased her uric acid levels, but the uric acid levels were higher compared to the amount of water that was lost, if that makes sense. Like her blood was just more concentrated because the diuretics were too strong. So, yeah. So anyway, so for people who have a little extra, edema and that sort of thing, which are affecting, the body and the heart, that's going to be a nice herb. The other thing, though, is that you also got to make sure that you are watching your salt. And I have a whole video on actually managing salt. So I would check that out because a lot of the patients I have who come in for hypertension, like that's the first thing we do, and they're surprised. Even people who say, "Oh yeah, I watch my salt," they don't actually ever count their salt, and when they do, even for just a few days, they're usually shocked at how much salt they're actually taking in, even when they're watching it. So yeah, parsley's a really good. So even like a cup or two daily of parsley is pretty nice to help with just a little extra water. It also helps to tone the vessels, and again, that might be because it's pretty high in vitamin C, and vitamin C is helpful with um, helping to build strong structures in the body. For the gastrointestinal system, parsley is really good for potentially gallstones, jaundice, and also as a laxative. The gallstones and jaundice, so again, we're talking about like gallbladder, liver function here. So it is a gentle cleanser. And then the laxative, because it's a little bit warming, it can help to, relieve balls, that sort of thing. Now, the thing though is that I have a caution down here at the end of the slide about if somebody's an acute, gallstone has a gallstone attack or, gallbladder attack or something like that, that's not the time to give somebody parsley. Okay. Um, So then the genitourinary system. So it is a diuretic I mentioned. So again, just getting a little extra water off the body without being too much, And then painful urination, bladder infections, kidney stones can be helpful here. Again, depending on the extent of things. Okay, so like bladder infection, this isn't an antibiotic. This herb is not an antibiotic. So, there might be a need for an antibiotic. But because parsley is going to increase urination, that's also creates a flushing action of the kidneys and the bladder or the urethras and that sort of thing, because it's like flushing things through. Again, that may not be enough. And then kidney stones as well can be helpful, but again, you have to if somebody's having an acute kidney stone attack or something like that. This is not the time to be messing around with parsley. Okay. So the immune system, any kind of swollen gland can potentially be helpful because again, that's just the nature of parsley is to decrease swelling. For men, swollen prostates, can be helpful again. And again, these things like the swollen glands, like if there's actually an infection, there might be need for an immune booster or an antibiotic. And then the parsley helps with just decreasing the swelling, potentially, as long as the initial positive agent is removed or dealt with. And the same with prostate, it's like what's causing the prostate issue. If there's something, if there's like a tumor or growth or something, that you may need things in addition, and parsley may be an adjunct therapy for those types of issues. Okay. And for women, lack of menses, painful menses. Well, lack of menses usually is usually related to high vata or kapha, so coldness in the body, either cold and dry or cold and wet. Painful menses, usually that's related to, again, vata or kapha. Not always. Cramps, that's a high vata condition. Headache is usually high pitta, but the thing is, headache can be caused during the menses because there's a shift in circulation, right? Because it's like the blood vessels around the uterus are enlarging and engorging and then releasing blood. That changes the circulation for the whole body. So people can get pain like in their legs, in their head, or, whatever. So by slowly, gently decreasing the amount of extra water on the body, that can relieve some of these symptoms if they're not too, intense. And then decreasing lactation. So for people who have trouble lactating or lactating enough to breastfeed, um, parsley, usually decreasing lactation is a sign of too much vata, so too much cold and dry energy in the body. So by gently warming things up, and also this is it's a natural diuretic. So it's going to get rid of water from the body, but that means that there's going to be more liquid expelled through the breast tissue for the baby. See how that works? Okay. So generally, as I mentioned, edema, swelling, and cleansing, these are general effects of parsley. For people who do eat juniper, which, around here where I live, I don't know too many people who eat juniper, but sometimes it's like in a mix of herbs, or sometimes if people are into like more old-fashioned recipes, usually related to like, I think meat and stuff like that. Sometimes you'll see juniper, or if people live near the mountains, because usually juniper, grows on those evergreen plants and stuff like that. Juniper has a similar effect, so sometimes you'll see juniper, like if you pick up supplements and what is it, the health food store, or grocery store supplements. If you find urinary related, like bladder cleanse or kidney cleanse type products, sometimes you'll see juniper or parsley. So they have sort of similar effect, but parsley is more mild. So you can't kind of go too wrong. Juniper's stronger, and so sometimes that can be more irritating to tissue. So especially if there's already inflammation, parsley may be the better choice. So you'll still get some effect without like the stronger effects or irritating effects of juniper. So as I mentioned, if somebody's in acute kidney, liver, gallbladder, or uterine inflammation, parsley it might not be the right time for parsley. Parsley on its own is not going to, handle a gallstone attack, gallbladder attack, or a kidney stone, somebody releasing kidney stones. And high pitta generally, if somebody has like just a low, maybe autoimmune disease, or their whole body's inflamed, or their skin is really irritated and inflamed or something like that, you don't really want to give them any type of, for the most part, warming or hot herbs. This is more of a warm, I would say warmer more than a hot herb. So it's pretty mild. That's why you can't go too wrong with parsley. And that's why, you can put it on a plate. Um, and then also high doses are contraindicated in pregnancy. So, what's a high dose? Well, in the States, from what I've seen, usually parsley, there's like a little sprig of parsley, and it's usually a garnish. So maybe you like chew on it, chew on one little piece. That's not going to be a problem. But I have seen people from other countries who, like, I actually I remember going to lunch or breakfast or something with people from other countries, and they will eat like whole bowls of parsley, like it's lettuce. Okay. And so, like, I remember being at this restaurant, and I guess this person wanted more greens, so they asked for a whole plate of parsley, and the waitress was like, "Okay," because that's an unusual request in the United States, but not in other places. So, and it was a guy, so it wasn't a problem. But again, cups and cups of parsley tea and handfuls of fresh parsley. That's maybe just a sprig. Like a little taste would be fine, but I wouldn't really do. Much more than that, for pregnancy, if you're pregnant. If you're breastfeeding, not a problem, because there are small, or what do they call it? Um, Basically, it can, dislodge the um, fetus that's, attached to the uterus and this sort of thing. So, abortifacient, that's the one. It does have mild abortifacient properties. So, yeah, just want to be mindful of that if you're pregnant. Okay. So there you go. Parsley and all the nice things it can do for you. So as always, thanks so much for stopping by, listening to one of my talks. Again, this talk was based on my book, Drink to Your Health: Medicinal Teas, Juices, and Milks from Around the World. You can pick up copies on Amazon if you ever want to. I do have another YouTube channel where I talk about Vedic astrology, which is ancient Indian astrology. So not only do I do ancient Indian medicine, but I do ancient Indian astrology. The name of that channel is Light Vedic Astrology. And then I do have an online photography gallery gift shop. The colorful photo on the front slide on the thumbnail is from High Mowing Seeds. That's not mine, but the other photographs in sepia, actually, those are my photographs. So actually, a lot of my photographs are embedded in my, especially my natural medicine talks. So anyway, if you're interested in photography or looking for interesting gifts, that might be interesting to you as well. So I hope you found this helpful and learned some more about the groceries in your kitchen and how you might kind of think about them more as medicine moving forward. All right. So thanks so much and take good care. Namaste.